Looking sharp.
Hey, it's a Saturday night. We're going to try and go out after this.
Oh boy. Now I feel pressure to get this done quickly.
No, not at all. I've told the lady friend that she will be waiting up to 2 hours like last time.
Okay. Oh, wow.
She listened to the first one. She liked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She expects us to give it our all yet again.
Okay.
What's up, boys?
Hey, how's it going?
Just chilling, man. Me and a homie jamming and drinking. So.
Nice. Oh, there you go, jamming.
I drove 4 hours yesterday to buy a super expensive amp, so I'm pretty hot.
Oh, wow.
Hey, pal.
So I don't know how long we're going to run tonight, but I definitely can't do a 3 or 4 hour one like we did last time.
It shouldn't be that long. I think, yeah, it shouldn't be. It won't be. Was it 3 hours last time?
Yeah, it was really long. I'm just kidding. Is Justin frozen? He's not like looking or moving.
Justin, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Frozen there for a second. I was like, yeah, he's just like staring off in one spot.
I haven't broadcast live for a while, and I haven't done it with Skype, so it's gonna look kind of weird. Like on my video, it's gonna broadcast what I see on my computer, and for better or for worse, Levi and Drew, you guys are big front and center. Me and Justin are little icons in the corner. So it's
that's great because I am super popular with the Third Eye Blind Misfits group. Super popular.
Is that a joke?
I got banned from that group for like no reason, but yeah.
Which group did you get banned from?
I got banned from the the Third Eye Blind Misfits group.
That is funny. Why?
Oh, you can ask Justin. He was there. I said something about Stephen Jenkins, and I guess the admin didn't like that, and then she said that I was wrong. And I said, well, I mean, he kind of screwed over, what was his name? I can't remember his name. Yeah, everybody, but specifically the guy who was on the first two albums. Freddie. Yes, that guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
He screwed him over like really hard, and then he put it that he wasn't writing any of the songs. He gave credit to the other guy. The admin said I was lying, and then she disagreed, and then she said that the guitar player was super rude to her in real life, and then after one more sentence, I got banned. That it was so abrupt. Like, I looked at my Facebook to see what the comments were, and everything was gone, and I was like, okay.
Okay, we're not live yet, so I'm glad you got that off your chest. We're about to go live here, guys, so is everyone ready?
Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't freaking make it! So here's what you get. From Canada, Ryan and Ruben.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Worst of the Best podcast. I am your host, Ryan, and this is another episode without my brother Ruben because, again, we are doing Third Eye Blind, and as I said before in round one of our Third Eye Blind discussion, my brother Ruben doesn't know the band, so he can't speak to it. So I have with me again the same group of guys that were with me for round one. We've got Levi, Drew, and Justin. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Guys, big thing happened yesterday. Third Eye Blind fans obviously know this.
Oh, yesterday Third Eye Blind dropped another album. Not a surprise. They had announced it earlier in the summer, but maybe a surprise to some people who are realizing that this band is 25 years old or something at this point. It's 10 songs long. It's 38 minutes long. I listened to it for the first time today. There's definitely some songs on there that are reminiscent of old Third Eye Blind. There's definitely some experimental things that show the direction that Stephen Jenkins wants to take this band.
Justin, what's your initial headline on the album?
Overall, it honestly wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. There was definitely some classic Third Eye Blind stuff on there, honestly. Definitely some of the more recent Stephen Jenkins blunders with it, too. But overall, it was a pretty decent sounding album.
Levi, go ahead. What's your headline on the new release?
Actually, you know what? The songs where Stephen Jenkins was backed off a bit and let the old school mojo kind of flow. I really dug it. The second song on the album, I started feeling old school Third Eye Blind a little bit in there. The stuff like Camouflage, where it's super experimental, has gotten more and more over-encompassing, Whereas back with Camouflage, it was really neat and kind of new. And now it's getting super poppy and echoey, like a guitar player who only plays with reverb all the way up, just for the sake of having that echoey sound. A lot of the Stephen Jenkins heavy songs are like that, but this album did have some songs I would put on a playlist and listen to still. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about the background of this song, of the album Screamer. I saw them in concert in October 2018, and at that show, they announced that they were in the studio and they're working on a new album. Of course, when I mentioned this in one of the Third Eye Blind groups, I got a lot of flack from people saying, "Oh, he says that at every concert," you know. But the fact of the matter is, it's true. We now are doing an episode because of that they did release a new album. He was true to his word. And it's funny because, as you guys know, Stephen Jenkins has announced the retirement of the band a few times. We thought the Dopamine was the last album that he was ever going to do, but we've had Thanks for Everything, which was a cover album, We Are Drugs, and now this full-length album. I think we should just be grateful that a band that plays rock and roll, at the end of the day, that writes their own music, that they're releasing music. Like, this is a band that could have hung it up a long time ago. I give full credit to Stephen because it's really his band. I give full credit to him, despite whatever you might think about him, whatever I might think about Stephen, that he's actually producing music and getting it out there.
I think that Third Eye Blind is where Metallica is now, and that they should have probably stopped with a collection, to be honest.
Wow.
I like them as a band to go see. It's great. It makes me reminisce on like one of my all-time favorite bands. I mean, heck, I got the Third Eye Blind tattoo on my arm. It reminds me of Metallica's albums since the 90s, since Black Album. Yeah, a couple good ones gets through the mix, you know, through the other songs. But then there's a lot of stuff that I think Stephen Jenkins should have done as a solo career. And I think everybody who likes the band would have enjoyed that solo career too. Would have been like, oh, cool, Stephen Jenkins is doing his own stuff. But instead, because he kind of owns Third Eye Blind completely, he was just like, yeah, I'll put it on the Third Eye Blind name. And I don't think a lot of stuff is really as true to the Third Eye Blind sound.
The only argument that you would make is that at this point, the Third Eye Blind sound is whatever appears on the most recent album. The Third Eye Blind sound is what Stephen Jenkins says it is. To have this band that continually tours and continually gives us opportunities to see them, and then, you know, also not expect to put out new music, that's a little bit unreasonable. In this day and age, Stephen's got that outlet, and that's what he wants to do. I think we've seen other bands, and he was smart to point out Metallica and other things. I mean, look at something very popular like Maroon 5. Do those other four guys mean anything to that band? No. It's Adam Levine, and he could have gone solo, but he's not going to. Maybe that's just how things work. Other contemporaries of Stephen Jenkins had. Rob Thomas did a solo career.
I kind of agree with what you're saying about the solo stuff. I like the idea that they still carry the Third Eye Blind moniker. It's kind of what Axl Rose did for Guns N' Roses for a little while there. When he didn't have any of the original members from the first few albums, he carried the Guns N' Roses label because at the end of the day, that's the sound or that's the songs that you're going to hear from, the library you're going to hear from. When you go to a Third Eye Blind concert, you're not going to a Stephen Jenkins concert. You're going to a Third Eye Blind concert at the end of the day. Stephen, on this album, ironically, he kind of gave a little bit more of an open door policy to contributing artists and the band members. Do you hear that in this album, that kind of influence?
Like I said, half the album, I hear it.
Yeah, it's an album of two halves. It really is. I think the front half is traditional Third Eye Blind sounding music. I think it's traditional rock sounding music. You can even tell that Stephen is trying to sing within the traditional barriers of lyrics within his bars. The back end of the album, it just falls apart in that traditional Stephen Jenkins way. It's really funny that it is so firmly divided like that. I think it divides right about the 5 or 6 spot.
Now, Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, he was described as the album's musical advisor. What did he do on the album? Does anyone know what contribution he made?
I don't know what contribution he made. I don't think he made much of a contribution because I love Billy Corgan. I've loved all of his work. I will say this, though. If he endorsed any part, it would be Stephen Jenkins having a blast. Because if you've ever heard some of the extended albums with Billy Corgan, it gets so experimental and crazy. You don't like you're listening to a song for 25 minutes and you don't even realize it because it's just changed so much. So if Billy Corgan endorsed any part of the album, it was the experimental parts for sure.
Now, in our last episode, we were talking about, and this was only like a few months ago that we did our other episode, when this album, we knew the album was coming out, and during the recording of that album, it wasn't until I was editing the album that I realized that we had lost the keyboardist. Remind me of his name already. Boy, I forget his name. He was with them for 3 albums. Alex Kopp, he was the keyboardist for Thanks for Everything, Dopamine, and We Are Drugs. And the keyboards definitely played a big part in those albums, and I actually liked kind of the electronic sound that was coming in a little bit and things like that. All of a sudden, we have this new keyboardist, this new dude, Colin Creevy.
And he's actually got writing credits on some of these songs.
Exactly. So does anyone know where he came from and why he was given so much leeway on such a late part of their career?
No clue.
Yeah, okay. I was hoping somebody would know who this guy is. Mike Jenkins gave this guy a lot of creative control in the sound, because I've been hearing that Colin Creevy was part of the production as well.
If he's got the talent, you give him the credit. I follow him on Instagram. Try to see what he's up to. He's very enthusiastic about being a big part of the band.
Okay, that's fair. Justin, do you know anything about Colin?
I honestly don't.
Okay.
I know he's way younger than the rest of them, but
sure.
I don't know why he was included with it.
Yeah, well, he replaced Alex, and I really dug Alex as the keyboardist. When I saw them live, it was him. He was great backing vocals, really energetic on the keyboards and guitar. And it seems like this Colin guy, though, he's slid right in. It seems to be just as much a part of the energy of the group on stage from the videos I've seen and what have you. Right away with track 1, let's get into it. Track 1 was I guess it was the first single, was it officially? Screamer? Does anyone know anything about Alexis Krauss?
From Sleigh Bells.
Yeah. I had never heard of her until I heard of this track and saw that it was featuring her. And I went to some of the Sleigh Bell songs on YouTube.
Not exactly Third Eye Blind.
It's not uncommon for a lot of artists, even big name artists, to have featuring artists. It's just a way of kind of broadening people's fan base, right? It's a standard practice. Alexis Krauss fans will come over and say, "Oh, I hear she's guesting on a Third Eye Blind album," and it goes back and forth. And just like I did, I went to check out some of her stuff, but it didn't interest me enough to stick around. What's your thoughts on Screamer? So we got a thumbs down?
It sounded great live.
Oh.
It sounded way better live than it did on the album, because on the album they add so much more stuff, and to me it pollutes it.
Okay. Justin, what do you think of it?
I wasn't a fan of it live. I wasn't a fan of it recorded. I mean, it's kind of a different sound, yeah, but still has the same, like, you can tell it's Third Eye Blind. I think it, along with many of the songs on there, have a kind of gratuitous F-bomb drops. Like he's just using the F-bomb just to use the F-bomb.
Is it just me? This album has a lot of swearing.
It has a lot of MFers.
For no real reason.
They started around Ursa Major, I think, is where he started trying to be a little bit more abrasive.
The majority of these songs that have a quote-unquote kind of almost a sound that you can listen to with your mom. Something.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden we're saying MFer. It's weird.
I'll give you my take on it, and I think it's an overarching take on Stephen Jenkins. I don't think I'm alone here, but I think he thrives in that dichotomy of the bad boy with the sweet songs. That's where he made his niche with Semi-Charmed Life. And he's going to ride that. He's going to sort of dance with the girl he brought. He is going to continue to live in this gray zone where he's the bad boy, he's the troublemaker, but he also bears his soul, and he's very vulnerable in a lot of ways. That's his image. I think he's going to keep with it.
And that's fine. Again, I listen to songs that have cursing. I have since I was a kid. It just threw me off. As all of a sudden I'm listening to like a Quentin Tarantino album by Third Eye Blind.
He may want to be the Quentin Tarantino of rock music.
Well, and I will say this about Jenkins. I think he's a fantastic lyric writer. That's his bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when I hear Stephen Jenkins lyrics, I know it. He has his own style of writing lyrics, and this is coming from a person who's written songs before. He just, as soon as you start listening to him, he starts singing, and you're like, yeah, he's going into like the Stephen Jenkins metaphors and the real complex stuff that's about life. He's a little bit too political for me. I would probably like everything he does more if he was sticking with like the more really interesting outtakes of life that he did on like the earlier 3 albums. When he's not focused on making people hear how loud his voice is, he says some really good real stuff that I enjoy a lot.
Justin, what's your thoughts on the second song, The Kids Are Coming to Take You Down?
1, 2, 3, 4. She's alright. She's alright. And the kids are coming to take you down. And the kids are coming to take you down, 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 down. I'm beginning to think we're getting stronger. Finally show our teeth. She got a black flag on her shoulder. Says I'm just beginning to think we're getting stronger. Spin down.
Again, not really my cup of tea. I think that was the second one they released from it. And I mean, it's a good little song. It is. But it still didn't sell me on the album. I said, it being the second song, I was like, okay, I'll give this one a shot. And I was like, oh, this one isn't good either. It wasn't what I was looking for. Thankfully, later on the album, there was better songs for my style, at least.
Okay. For me personally, okay, maybe I haven't really given my full thoughts on this album yet. I've listened to it almost nonstop for a couple days. And I know my first listen, I was like, oh, okay, this is... But every Third Eye Blind album, every single one, I have never liked on its first listen. I don't think there's been a Third Eye Blind album yet that I have liked. Out of the Vein, I thought it was a horrible misdirection from Blue, but then now I love it. Ursa Major, don't get me started. That one took me forever to find out that it was truly a diamond in the rough of an album. And I think this album is already kind of doing that, I think, for more fans than usual. See, I try to stay away from people's reviews in the groups and stuff because I wanted to just go in with my thoughts and not be swayed by what people are saying. But I will say Screamer and The Kids Are Coming, right off the bat, that's a doubleheader of 2 songs. I think it's a very strong opening to the album. That's just me. I think it has the Third Eye Blind sound. It's got the guitars. It's got the kind of the catchy chorus. And I don't know. I think it's a great opener, those 2 tracks alone. In fact, I'm going to say right off the bat, I really like this album. I don't know where it rates right now, but I think it's a very strong album. I think it's a very emotional album, and I love the sound, and I love where Third Eye Blind's going with their sound lately.
Is it something where you believe, with your experiences with not loving albums at the beginning, do you believe that Steven is trying to be sort of challenged in that way? Do you feel like he's trying to make you explore sort of what you like about music, and do you like this music, even if it's not something that you like on the first listen? Do you think he's doing this intentionally?
If it fits who he is, he's a bit of a dick, it seems like. And I think he makes it difficult to be a fan of his band. And I think that's kind of cool.
He does a really good job of that. Really good job of that. Makes it really, really hard.
Because here's a band that every single album is so different.
The gap between each album, like the differences between Self-Titled and Blue, massive.
Yeah.
For me, I'm the youngest of the group, and I started listening. It was Blue, it was Out of Vein, it was Self-Titled. I had already all those under my belt when I started because they were already released.
Right.
To me, those automatically are the Third Eye Blind sound. Everything after feels like an even bigger leap. And I realized that most likely for y'all, the differences between each album are even bigger.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. That's an interesting perspective. We talked about that in our first discussion. The different timelines we kind of came into the band, and you being the younger, yeah, you would have to come in when their third album was out. That's weird. Ugh, I'm old. The song Ways, it's hard for me to speak to it just because I know it in my head a little bit, but I can't really speak to it. But I remember liking Ways.
Well, the truth is, I'm just glad I'm here. You don't know who that is, but I'm headed for the legend. Trying to land that trick. Pop up, yeah, that's my talking to claim that kick. Now let me see you talk. You always call me dude. You never call me by my name. A California rude boy, headed for the legends. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And the summer rainbow sneaking into outside lands.
Anyone have any thoughts on Ways?
I really like Ways.
Yeah.
I think Ways is a good song.
I do too. Yeah.
Do we all like Ways? Does anyone not like Ways?
I mean, I don't dislike it. I definitely like it better than I like the first two. Again, I really think the back half of this album wins me over more than the front half does for now. I started listening to the leak of it a few weeks ago. I definitely couldn't listen to it in order.
Tropic Scorpio, I heard a lot of people talking about this song before. Like, I listened to the album when it was officially released. I didn't listen to any leaks or anything. Not because of anything other than to just... I didn't want to look for it. I just wanted to wait for it to be released officially.
Here's my dilemma. You're throwing a kink in my telemetry. I'm a fast pass. I'm a grass stain on your ass and I'm with it. She just went through a breakup. She's fragile and injured and she's mean as still moving like a dolphin under me. Sometimes I go so hard that my bones sing. That my bones sing. And I wanna know, can you hear this voice inside of me? And I wanna know, can you hear this voice inside? Falling up the blast, cold and terrible cash. I'll make you think the past was worth it. Oh, living, die alone, no. Yeah.
But Tropic Scorpio, I heard a lot of people saying, oh, it's like the catchiest song since Never Let You Go. I didn't feel that way. I was expecting it to be more kitschy and catchy, but it ended up just being, no, it's a good song. It happens to be a good song. It doesn't challenge you. Maybe that's why people find it catchy. It's not a very challenging song.
It does have a hook that speaks to probably every Third Eye Blind fan. Can you hear the voice inside of me? Can you hear the things that I'm thinking that I'm unable to express? He spells it out pretty clearly, I think.
Tropic Scorpio, I do like it a lot. I'm a Scorpio myself, so I kind of like it a little bit more because I happen to be Scorpio. Walk Like Kings, that was the third song that they kind of released like a music lyric video on their YouTube channel.
Tell me where you've been, where the summer go. All these motherfuckers with my flow. And your G550 cabin's kinda narrow. Skip the FBO, time to get up in this hotel lobby. Boy, can you bring the luggage, please? It's a surplus duffel bag, contraband in the valise. And all the enemies, we drop them to their knees. Watch you walk across the lobby on the skulls as you please. Where have you been? Where have you been now? Where have you been? Where have you been now? Sparkle across the sea just like diamonds. They're all for you and me. Let's go find them. Ain't living the lux life. It's only gonna last for a moment. So walk like kings.
Didn't like it necessarily at first. I kind of thought that was the weakest of the three singles when I first heard it. But it's a song, like most Third Eye Blind songs, I don't like at first, that has grown on me since its first listen.
I kind of feel like maybe there's a couple members of the band that are a little bored with some swear words that you have to remove.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a very light song, but it's got MF'er coming through the roof.
the first part of the album is really where the music to me shines. And the second part of the album is really where Stephen Jenkins gets full swing with his lyrics. So as each song progresses, you get more of that intricately woven concept he goes for in a lot of his songs.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe as the lyrics become more challenging, the song itself is a little bit more challenging to listen to. So I'm like Justin. I found myself really digging and finding a deeper feeling on the second half of the album. Turn Me On is an example of that.
We go all the way to disaster. We shine a black light on me. Oh, we're like maniacs, but then you look me in the eye. You make me wanna cry.
The only problem with Turn Me On is I feel like there's a crescendo that never comes.
Yeah.
It ends too soon.
Yes.
Yes.
That end, I mean, it just leaves you going, what?
Yeah. There should be another 30 seconds or something.
Yeah.
It's definitely like missing a piece.
Great song, though. I think it's kind of beautiful and very minimalist. I mean, it doesn't have a whole lot of lyrics to it. It's not blinded by any means. And it tells a good story. I had that sort of a relationship before. I think people can relate to that song. Love Burns Bright.
Yes. Justin, have you ever gotten so high?
Follow around the way my blood beats, and I'm sneaking around and I'm sniffing your treats. So sweet, how I can filled with this longing. How do I kill it? I need some sugar, 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 some sugar, 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 some sugar, 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 some sugar, sugar, sugar. I got so high, I fell in love with all the world and the sky up above. So turn my jam on the radio up. I got so high, yeah. So I walked out on Tamarias. I watched a movie starring Cameron Diaz. I got a guitar amp that's louder than Jesus.
That is probably my favorite song on this record, honestly. I remember it from a few years ago when they were playing it live, but I don't remember it too clearly from it. I just remember vaguely enough to be like, oh yeah, I got so high. That was a song title on set list with like Sherry is a Stoner. And I can't remember other songs from that time period that you never saw actually recorded. And now to hear it on an album, I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually really cool. I love it. I know it's got some kind of catchy lyrics in it. I think that's the one that talks about Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of like, oh, it's a little cringy, and yet overall, it's a jam. It really is.
Drew's shaking his head at you, Justin. I think we got a detractor for this song.
We have completely different opinions on this album. I like the front half, and this is where it starts to fall apart for me.
The whole album was a disappointment for me. Good concepts, good musical structures, and wasted all by splitting it apart. He got too experimental for me. And by the way, just to give you an idea, I listened to, I'd say, at this point in my life, 85% instrumental music. I'm used to, weird stuff. But the kind of weird Stephen Jenkins gets into is just not my cup of tea. It's like that kid who first starts recording music and discovers all these effects and is always putting them on everything. And you're like, dude, you got to be sparing with some of this stuff. And I really think he goes ham on some of these effects and these added parts of the vocals. The whole after editing of the album, it's Third Eye Blind, in my opinion, has completely lost its raw sound.
It's a different sound to me. I guess this is one reason why I like the band, because they're not the same every album, to the point where it's almost like you would be hard pressed to convince someone that Blue, the band that played Blue, and their self-titled album, it's the same band that's playing this album. To me, I don't mind that. Okay, when it comes to Stephen Jenkins, I don't care what he's like as a person. I don't care. Most artists are jerks. Most celebrities are not nice people. Like, there's an old saying, like, you don't want to meet your heroes. When it comes to Got So High, at first, when I first heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? But the song grew on me very quickly. I'm totally with Justin on this. It's so much fun, and I think it's Stephen Jenkins' nod to the Beatles. I think it's his Beatles song, which is a good or bad thing, I don't know, but I definitely heard a Beatles-esque type influence. All right, Who Am I?
Who am I to you? Who am I to you? Well, the signs tell me it is time to go, and the signs tell me in stereo that you and I, we're wasted, cohabitating now that we're through. Still I'm waiting for the feeling I'm living without you. I am without you. I am. Who am I to you? Who am I to you? Well, these signs tell me panic setting in. Isn't it time to live again?
Well, Drew's not going to like anything on the second half, it seems like, so go ahead, Justin.
That's another song that I didn't want to like. My first listen of it, I didn't really think I was going to enjoy it. And honestly, the verses I'm a little lackluster on, but the whole chorus, I'm waiting for that feeling. Who am I without you? I really dig it a lot.
It's a fine song. Let's see. I've got it. Yeah, it's a 8 on this album for me.
Oh, that's high.
I think it's harmony, and I do like it. Other than that, I don't have much to say about the song.
Okay. All right. Light It Up.
The kiss of death comes to you, soft and wet and see-through, and you never knew. The moment that she died, your eyes scream like a beacon fire. I'm gritting wild by your side, and the face of death looks just like being satisfied. Where we meet again, here we are between a laugh now and a cry, piercing clear and piercing true. All the time is done to you. I hope you find something you remember. So light, you are the magic. Give me ashes, strike the matches, light it up. So light, your face to me, so let me see you light it up, oh light it up, and let it burn.
Mediocre. It gets to be less and less of the Third Eye Blind that I once really knew. I can sing every song, like word for word, from the first 3 albums, and then I'd say the next 2 albums I can sing about half of them. Each album, it gets to be less and less of the thing I grew to love, you know?
Okay.
Because that was like one of those first bands that I really just was like, yeah, this is definitely my all-time favorite band. They're so different, and I don't want to mean it like in a bad way. I mean, like Megadeth has had a revolving group of people since the beginning, but to me, they've stayed true to their sound, and Third Eye Blind, for better or for worse, has changed a lot.
Okay. It's going to be hard for me to talk about number 10, track 10, without... well, okay. Well, before we talk about track 10, let's talk about track 11, Take a Side.
You gotta take a side. Your silence is torment, and you're the tormentor. What are you doing here? Sometimes you gotta interfere, and that's the way it goes. Sometimes it's best to get a bloody nose. Back up against your fear and throw them the fuck out of here. Throw your body on the gears of the machine. Better to get dirty than to be unclean.
Take a Side, track 11, is a beautiful song, and I think it's really good, because I don't count the Who Am I acoustic, as to me that's a bonus track, throwaway track. I hate it when all bands, when they give me two songs or two versions of the same song. I hate that. So that being said, I'm not going to even count Who Am I, the acoustic song version, as a point of discussion for me personally. But Take a Side, I love it. It's a beautiful song. I think it's an emotional song. I love the last 30 seconds of that song. I think it's in my book, it's a great album closer.
I don't want to do a side note right there on the Who Am I acoustic. I'm totally okay with it. I mean, yeah, it is kind of a throwaway thing. I'm totally okay with it, though, if it wasn't all the same downstroke on the guitar.
Who am I to you? 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 Well, the signs tell me it is time to go. And the signs tell me in stereo that you and I, we're wasted, cohabitating now that we're through. Still I'm waiting for the feeling I'm living.
Sure.
I mean, if you listen to the normal track, it's not all downstrokes. So why does the acoustic one have to be all downstrokes? If it was just played like a normal, and I know that's not, it's still normal, but if it was just played differently, I would love it 10 times more than I do. As far as Take a Side, I agree it is a great song. I still think I Got So High and the regular Who Am I are better songs for me. Okay. But it's definitely head and shoulders above the first two tracks on the album.
Okay. Well, they're deeper songs. I mean, the first two tracks are either your classic, almost like if you had a cassette player, put the tape in, hit play on side A, it kind of rolls you into the album right away. It starts off that kind of rock and strong, guitar strong, and then we get into maybe softer stuff, a little bit of more emotional stuff at the end of the album. Any thoughts on Take a Side before we get into track 10, 2 Times Tigers?
Take a Side is a fine song. It's an inspirational song. The chorus of Ride All You Diamonds is speaking to his group of misfits, speaking to the people that are pressured, that will eventually rise and shine. The problem that I have 2 times, but it's only 38 minutes long, when he uses words that are the same, it's like diamonds, it's very distracting to me and it takes me out of the song. Mm-hmm. I've already heard him talk about sparkling like diamonds on Walk Like Kings, and now he does it again. Okay, he doubles down on some of these, and I think maybe that is maybe a faltering of the Stephen mystique and his use of metaphors. He uses summer probably 4 or 5 songs on this album. Talks about summer, the end of summer, where did it go, something, something, missing summer. He really uses the color blue quite often. If you are listening to the lyrics and you hear these things on a 38-minute album 2-3 times, I find it a little bit distracting.
It is a shorter album. I remember when I listened to it all the way through for a first playthrough, I was like, "Oh, that's it. I'm done." It felt very quick. It doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. Maybe I think this is a good album. I really do. I give this album probably, top of my head, probably 7, almost 8 out of 10. I think some of the weaknesses of it, there is one track that we haven't talked about yet. And then there's... Okay, well, let's talk. Like, the purpose of this podcast is that we pick the worst of the best. Now, of course, this is just a one album. It's not really a best, but this is kind of like a part 2 to our initial discussion of Third Eye Blind. We knew that we were going to do a follow-up episode when the new album came out. So we are going to pick... Well, I'll lead. As host of the show, I'll lead with the worst. My feeling what the worst song is, and the one we haven't discussed yet, is 2 Times Tigers.
and when the down when the sun is sleeping, and the sound of the ocean when your heart is beating. I know the sound at the bottom of the ocean. So tell me now how you gonna with it. Maybe you get your marks in, but I'm gonna win. Don't think tick tick, maybe I'm a time bomb. I'm exploding right now, you have got the time wrong.
Gosh, the name itself is so bad.
Is it 2 times Tigers or 2 by Tigers or 2X?
I think it's 2 times Tigers.
It's twice as many tigers in the lyric.
No matter what, yeah, it's definitely more tigers than he'd want.
It's a grocery list. He needs 2 times the tigers.
Okay. Look, I'm all for any band kind of being experimental or having some fun or doing something different. That's fine. But when different is terrible, that's not fine. Okay, here's for an example. Third Eye Blind did something on Dopamine that was different. And I loved it, and I wanted more of it. That was that electronic ending at the end of the song. The name escapes me. The one that we're talking about, David Bowie.
Rites of Passage.
Thank you. Ugh, brain fart. Yeah, the ending to Rites of Passage, when I listen to that song, it's a great song. And at the end of it, when they do that electronic sound...
First time to leave home, and you never know something that touched you until you leave it. And if you ever had enough, because you leave it, to
I didn't want it to end. I actually tweeted Alex Kopp at the time saying, dude, you guys should just do like a whole electronic album because you guys obviously know how to piece something together that sounds fun and sounds cool. So there's an example, in my opinion, of something that's different for the band to do, but it worked. And it was something that I enjoyed. And maybe they thought we would like something that sounds electronical or electrical or whatever that term is. But this song is auto-tuned. It's horrible. You can't even dance to it. It's a garbage song. Absolutely garbage song. I think I would actually rather listen to Self-Righteous, and that's telling you something.
But that's one of the best songs, man. Why are you bringing it up like that?
Jeez. Oh my
all y'all so self-righteous, man. Where have all the sinners gone?
Oh, they can go in the trash can with that song. Drew, sorry, what's your pick of worst song on Screamer?
Oh, no, it's not twice as many tigers, unfortunately. No, it's not. It's like high. I got so high is a dumb song.
Oh.
It's not good. Not for a band that's been around for 25 years. Not for a guy the age of Stephen Jenkins. Be a different kind of bad boy. You know, they come up with the songs a little bit better than that. And talking about Cameron Diaz, I don't know why he thinks that's cool. I think that's thumbing his nose. That's Stephen thumbing his nose. He knows people don't want to hear him talk about Cameron Diaz.
I'm just surprised he didn't talk about Charlize Theron.
Exactly. Well, you know, he probably needs to leave all those actresses alone.
Wow, so really, I Got High is your worst song of the album. So you would rather be at a Third Eye Blind concert and listen to 2 Times Tigers live?
Well, I feel like 2 Times Tigers, are people passing out drugs in the crowd? Is that the only way to enjoy that song? I have to imagine that's what he thinks. I think Stephen thinks this is trap music. I don't know what Stephen thinks this is.
Is that your second least favorite song, Ali?
Of course.
Okay. Justin, what's your least favorite song on the album?
2 Times Tigers.
Okay. Why?
I'm all right with an electronic beat with Stephen Jenkins' voice. I'm all right with some dumb Stephen Jenkins lyrics. I think 2 Times Tigers, twice as many tigers, whatever we're calling it, took both of those to a different level that didn't reach the level that Stephen Jenkins, I think, intended to. If this was what he intended to, more power to you. I mean, this is the same guy that thought 1 in 10 deserved a spot on an album.
Ooh.
But
Oof.
not a fan.
1 in 10's a horrible song.
This guy did.
I would be okay if 1 in 10 and Twice as Many Tigers were just one-off releases. Like, hey guys, we recorded a song, listen to it. That'd be great. I'm all for it. But places on an album, especially a 38-minute album, there had to be something that they could have put instead of Tigers.
Or they should have taken off that acoustic song and just made it another EP. Like, I'm fine with them releasing a 8-song EP once a year, once every 18 months. Sure, that's no problem by me. I've waited longer for bands. This is the thing with Third Eye Blind is I'm happy they're releasing music. They were supposed to retire 3 albums ago. So the fact that we're getting anything is fine by me. Levi, what's your worst pick on the album?
Third Eye Blind did retire several albums ago.
Oh, here we go.
X,
Oh, boy.
XEB, bro, Third Eye Blind was forcibly retired by a man known as Stephen Jenkins. I'm just throwing that out there.
We're going to get banned from older groups. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Third Eye Blind is the band that made me understand all those guys who say, yeah, man, music nowadays just ain't what it used to be. This album is just further against the direction that I liked Third Eye Blind going into. Before, they had people who were virtuosely in command of their instruments, and they had Steven. He's up there side by side with Adam Duritz as the best alternative songwriters in the whole game. Counting Crows, Third Eye Blind, nobody beats them lyrically. And the problem with it is, Third Eye Blind's kept going, but he really hasn't replaced that style of sound. And I don't think it's because of the people who are playing for it. I think it's because he just doesn't want it to be as focused on that. And that's, you know what? Somebody out there, this is the direction that they are able to enjoy. Third Eye Blind did. And to me, that's great. The worst song on the album for sure is, in my opinion, it's like a reprisal from 1 to 10. Just the worst possible things Steven could have done, he did. Forcibly, he gave it to us, and he did not care. And I didn't care, except for that I hated it.
What song? I missed what song it was.
2 times.
Okay. All right. I was reading some of the people's comments in the groups, and I didn't want to read too much. I saw that most people kind of were... I don't think we're going to surprise a lot of people with that guess. And it almost made this not very fun. When I listened to the album knowing that we were going to do this episode of picking the worst song, it was almost like, oh, this is too easy. That's how I felt about it. It almost took the fun out of picking a bad song because it wasn't hard.
Well, it's because unlike, Self-Righteous, which is just a work of art that not everybody can fully grasp, this song did not have that. It had 10 times Tigers, or however many Tigers there was that was bad. Any more than 1 Tiger was apparently too much.
Before we move on to the next topic, this won't take us long. We're not going to go through the whole collection album. Do you guys have it in front of you by chance, or do you already have your pick? Because it's just the greatest hits album that came out in 2006. Okay. So the criteria for this will be, it's just, again, if you were to buy this greatest hits album that came out in 2006, so this was before Ursa Major came out, what's one song that if it dropped off the album and you never heard it again, at least on the greatest hits collection, you would not be missing the album. The song from that album. Before we get into that pick, I just want to talk about 2 things. One, about the Jimmy Eats World drummer. Was it him that made some snide Okay, does anyone know the story on that? I want to speak to that.
Okay, so it was 100% true, man. All of it.
What's true? Explain to our listener.
There was a girl who came out a little while ago who said that she and her sister had gone to a Third Eye Blind concert, and they're both young. I think they're like 18. And Stephen Jenkins was just bringing back all these 18-year-old girls and welcoming them into this after party. And I can only imagine what it must have felt like to see this old rock dude and these young bandmates just having a weird party. I don't know, man.
Like, did he do something inappropriate, or just a big age gap?
He was inviting close to underage, possibly underage women to these weird after parties.
Drew, do you know anything about this?
Yeah, it was something that came out after the tour ended. I don't remember the exact words. We're going to paraphrase. I think no one has it in front of them. But Jimmy Eat World drummer basically said Stephen Jenkins was like a sleazeball. Like he's kind of a creepy guy. I think it surprised any of us. I think that the drummer said that, he sort of is glad the tour is over. He's a guy that he sort of repulses him. so much. Third Eye Blind fans kind of rebelled against that.
That's why I'm no longer in the Misfits group.
All right. Easy, Tiger. Easy two times Tiger.
Easy 2 times Tigers to you.
Levi's like 4 or 5 times Tigers.
I'm 8 times Tigers.
All right. Justin, do you have any thoughts on that little news piece there?
Yeah, so, I mean, number one, the Jimmy Eat World drummer, Zach Glenn, he did say it after the tour was over. I mean, he's definitely not going to badmouth the tour mate during the tour. He was making good money off the tour, so why ruin that? But in his tweet, he did show, so Third Eye Blind had given out, like, papers at every venue they went to with pictures of the members of Third Eye Blind on it. Said, these are the members of Third Eye Blind. They are allowed access to every part of the venue during this show. They will not be carrying passes. Just recognize their faces. But Jimmy Eat World and then Riot had to carry their all-access pass on them at all times. Honestly, it's not a big deal. It's definitely an ego trip, but you're touring with Stephen Jenkins. You are expecting the ego trip.
Sure. You know, I guess I'm a Guns N' Roses fan, so if I can handle the personality of Axl Rose in his heyday, Stephen Jenkins is nobody compared to Axl Rose in his heyday. I'll tell you that much. Stephen Jenkins is like a kindergartner compared to Axl Rose's diva activity back in the day. He's calmed down a lot in his older years, mind you, but back in his 20s, man, he was quite the character. Oh, yeah, apparently I heard they're in the studio already recording new music. Have you guys heard that?
No.
Third Eye Blind?
Yes.
I hope not. I really hope not. They need to take a small break, think about what they've done, and put together something more enjoyable.
All right, so before we close, we'll just do a little quick pick for our listeners from their greatest hits collection. Again, it came out in 2006. This was before Ursa Major's release, is my understanding, if I remember correctly. From this album, Levi, what is your least favorite song from the greatest hits called A Collection?
That's so easy. My Time in Exile.
Used to worry for each other. No one's bothered like before. We sleep with each other's friends, sneak around, fall apart, and come back for more. We sit around drinking tables, stabilized and keeping score. But my mind is somewhere out the door. Oh, we have grown. Maybe I'm overstayed a while in my time in exile. And oh, time has flown. And the only thing I've learned, I want a life now of my own.
It's the only song that I don't love 100%.
Okay. Drew?
I will agree with that, but I was going to give a little bit of context for it. My Time in Exile was a song that was previously only available on a DVD that they made, and it played over the credits. So I can remember people kind of liking it because the only way that you could hear it would be to listen to the credits of this DVD they put out.
Right.
To a kind of Third Eye Blind fan, that made a feeling. And when it came out on this Greatest Hits record, it was one of, I think just that and Tattoo of the Sun were the only songs that hadn't really been on one of their first 3 albums. So those were special songs. They were supposed to be added bonuses for the album. But no, My Time in Exile is a boring song. It's a slow song. And yet again, it's another kind of woe is me, Stephen Jenkins doesn't fit in song. I don't like any of those. You can pretty much across the board assume I will not like those songs. And that's what this one is. My Time in Exile is the worst song.
All right, 2 for 2 on that one, boy. Justin?
If you had asked me when this album came out, I would have said Graduate. After this album has come out, and now having seen Third Eye Blind so many times live, it's Slow Motion.
Miss Jones taught me English, but I think I just shot her son. 'Cause he owed me money with a bullet in the chest. You cannot run. Now he's bleeding in a vacant lot, the one in the summer where we used to smoke pot. I guess I didn't mean it, but man, you should have his flesh explode. Slow motion, see me let go. We tend to die young. Slow motion, see me let go. What a brother knows. Slow motion, see me let go.
Slow Motion is not as deep of a song as Stephen Jenkins
it
thinks
back.
it is.
No.
It's not that deep of a
back.
song. It's not that fun of a song. My Time in Exile is a better sounding song 100%. Slow Motion is...
Lies.
No.
I don't even know if you're a Third Eye Blind fan if you don't like slow motion.
Oh, you're
Bro,
gonna
slow
hate.
motion was the first time I cried listening to music.
Oh,
Yeah.
Slow Motion is for the Third Eye Blind experts. Only experts know slow motion. No, everybody knows slow motion. You play it at every freaking show.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I agree with that. When I went last time, it was like, hey guys, you know that song nobody knows but all of you know? Let's sing that one.
Yeah.
Third Eye Blind fans now, we've grown past the people who would have abandoned. Everybody who was going to abandon them have already been abandoned them. So now it's all just the fans who were going to stick around anyways.
All right, so my worst song on their greatest hits album is, I think this was my pick. I think this might have been my pick for the self-titled album. It's Semi-Charmed Life.
Well, motivation, she comes round and she goes down on me. And I'll make you smile like a drug for you. Do ever what you wanna do, coming over you. Keep on smiling what we go through. One stop to the rhythm that divides you. And I speak to you like the chorus to the verse. Drop another line like a go with the curse. Coming like a freak show takes the stage. We give them the games they play. So say, I want something else to get me through this semi-time kind of life. Baby, baby, I want something else. I'm not listening when you say.
I hate that song so much. To me, it's like the Enter Sandman of Third Eye Blind. Like, meaning I'm a huge Metallica fan, but I hate Enter Sandman. I hate it. But even though I understand that because of that song, it's given them the access that they have for generations to come of new fans that came in because of it. And I recognize that Semi-Charmed Life brought in the exposure that we are talking about them even today, because they have so many millions of fans, and even though they don't have that many today compared to what they had back then, they have this success because of that single. But because of that, this single sounds nothing like what they sound like at all. And that's the thing. It is what it is, and a lot of bands suffer from the singles of their early days, even though they don't sound anything like that anymore. You can pick any band and pick one of their first singles, you're like, that's the same band. Well, Third Eye Blind is no different in my books. It's a song that I never have to hear again. I would never have to hear again, and I'll never die unhappy because of that. I hate it. I hate the song. I hate it. I actually hate the song.
I sort of think that that's a common thing among Third Eye Blind fans. Part of the ritual of becoming a real Third Eye Blind fan is realizing a motorcycle drive-by to Semi-Charmed Life. Don't pass that test. Well, you may fall into the category of Justin, not a Third Eye Blind fan.
That's fine, but I am, and I love their new album. So I'm a total mark for Third Eye Blind. I'm not gonna lie. I was excited for the new release. I love the new album. I really do. I don't know where to rank it, because to me, ranking a Third Eye Blind album to another album, it doesn't make sense to me, because every album is so different. It's a different experience for me, and they have a different emotion that they bring out in me. So I don't know how to rank the albums. That could be another episode, ranking the albums and why.
I could do it for you right here.
Oh, here we
It
go.
would definitely be ranked low.
Okay, that's fair. But give it.
It's not a high point. It's a callback to a high point, but it's not a high point.
I'd give it some time. Because like I said, when I first heard Ursa Major, I would have told you that I will never listen to that song again. I think it sat in my DVD holder for quite a while before I put it in again. Maybe I learned my lesson with Third Eye Blind that you can't do that with them. You have to kind of, not to say you have to force feed it on yourself, but maybe a song that challenges you at first might not be a song that you dislike later.
But man, that's part of the Third Eye Blind thing. I've only listened to this album for one day. I could flip and love the second half. I could become a Justin very easily. It could happen. And I look forward to that.
Okay, I look forward to you liking the second half as much as I do.
That's right. That's right.
Well, guys, you know what? We hit the hour mark. We're almost right on the dot. I know, Drew, you look very handsome. You're ready to go out with your lady friend. Good luck with that.
Hey, whatever you do, don't play 2 times Tigers. It'll kill the mood.
Yeah. Yeah, and also make sure you don't have a 10 days late playing later in your car either.
Actually, you know what? The date might end before it starts. I'm just going to spend the whole night talking about this podcast I just did.
Oh. It might be a mood killer. Well, guys, I don't know if we're going to do a third episode of Third Eye Blind or not, but...
Hey, you guys are welcome to join me and Justin on the shit talk, for sure.
So, yeah, do you guys want to plug your future podcast? I'll keep it for the iTunes release. Do you have a future podcast you guys are doing?
Yeah, you want to talk about it, Justin?
No, I mean, it's been in talks. It's a matter of getting schedules actually arranged and figuring out how to really do it. I'm always down to do it. I have such a blast talking about music with you guys. And so it'd be great to just kind of have a generic music thing instead of just focused on Third Eye Blind. Not that I have any issue being focused on Third Eye Blind. I'm excited to do it when and if it happens.
I will say that my Third Eye Blind episode on this podcast feed was one of my biggest downloads of all my episodes. And I was very tempted to say to myself, boy, I should do a Third Eye Blind podcast because the amount of downloads I got for that episode was a lot higher than I anticipated. So it was right up there with Guns N' Roses and Bruce Springsteen for amount of downloads when it comes to topics. So, maybe the Third Eye Blind listeners are also podcast listeners because I was surprised by the ratio of downloads for that for the band.
You know what? We got to do it if they come out with another album.
Yeah, let's do it. Because I heard Steven's in the studio right now working.
I'm down for whatever, you guys. This is a good time always.
Thanks, guys, and thank you guys. You're Facebook friends now. It's nice to see you guys on Facebook as well. I feel like you guys are old friends, so that's a good thing. Again, thank you everyone who've listened. I hope to see Third Eye Blind again live with this new album. I like the album, but to me, the only sore spot actually so far is 2 times Tigers and the acoustic Who Am I? That's my final say on that.
Better than Out of the Vein. What do you guys think? Better than Out of the Vein, right? We all
No,
not at all. Out of the Vein was amazing.
It's ask me in 6 months.
Okay.
Ask me in 6 months. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, y'all.
bye.
Bye.
All right, stop recording, stop streaming. All right, guys, thank you so much, man.
The old one did. That was awesome, letting us know that the old one did well. I was wondering.
Say again?
I was wondering if the old podcast did well for you. And it did.
Yeah, it did. Like I said, I was surprised by it. It doubled and tripled some of my other episodes for downloads.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Well, guys, it's been a great night. I've enjoyed the crap out of this, and I look forward to the next album.
I hope so. All right, guys, take care, brothers. Well, enjoy your nights, okay? Enjoy your weekend.
I'm going to go listen to 2 times Tigers.
Jeez.